Hey everybody, Braden here with KroppyWargaming, and we're going to be diving into Helm's Deep. Coach and I decided to run this at a convention. It's a 6-player game. The rules we use are called Warlord. The guy that wrote them, his name is Max Carr, and the miniatures you see are Games Workshop miniatures. It's about 15 stands of Uruk-hai. It's a lot of Uruk-hai. And the typical stand of an Uruk-hai consists of a berserker, a crossbowman, 3 pikes, and 3 sword and shields. So that's pretty much most of them. Now the measurement you just saw right there is how the game starts. There's what we call the old man, probably the croppiest stats on the board. He hits on a 5+ and his save is a 6. I mean, he's pretty bad, but he's the guy that to represent in the movie. If you remember the very first Rohan guy that shot and killed an Uruk-hai, well, that's how this game starts. That's basically his ability. He gets to shoot before anything else happens. And sometimes he'll get a kill, and sometimes he won't. Most of the time he won't, because it's, like I said, if you hit on a 5, well, then the other side gets to roll a save. Now, this is a 3-hour game. I managed to go around and I filmed about 30 minutes, which actually surprised me. I thought I filmed a lot less than that. I condensed this into about a 20-minute film. Well, not film, but video. And so this is basically Helm's Deep. We didn't really build. Coach and I cannot take credit for building this Helm's Deep. It is a really nice model. We got it. It was started by a couple of Canadians, and then we kind of came in and finished it up. It was actually originally just supposed to be like a gaming store display, so it wasn't even really meant to be used in this light of actually gaming with it. Again, there's an elf player, there's 2 Rohan players, and then there's 3 Uruk-hai. One hitting the deepening wall. There's another Uruk-hai player that's kind of taking on the door, and then the final Uruk-hai player is hitting that long wall you see right there, which, for the most part, it was a pretty quick game. The rule set is pretty easy to pick up. There's not a lot to it. It's pretty straightforward. Elves, if they're shooting, they're going to hit on a 3 or better. Elves will pretty much save on a 5+. In fact, you see them right now, but at some point Legolas is going to get killed, and he just got killed because it's kind of hard to tell if he is still there or not. I don't think he is, but anyways, at some point in the game, Legolas does get killed to a couple of crossbows. It was pretty cool. The player that was playing the Uruk-hai along the wall, he took his 2 crossbows, didn't even look, and just threw the dice, and he rolled 2 boxcars, which is what you need to hit when you're shooting at a target that's behind cover. I think Legolas is still there. Yeah, I still see him. He looks like he's still there. But anyways, the guy failed one of the saves, and then when you're in Warlord, compared to like regular strategy where you have wounds and stuff, in Warlord they kind of use, I think it's more of a constitution roll or something like that, but we actually just kind of simplify it and call it like your fate roll, again borrowing from strategy. And so what you do typically, say if you're Legolas, your save is probably a 3+, and then your fate roll is a 5 or better. And so he didn't make it, so he missed his regular save, but then he also missed his fate roll. And so, like I said, most heroes, even on the board, except for the old man, even though I kind of consider him to be my hero, they have 2 saves, but that fate roll save is a little bit worse. The one character that has the best save on the board is Gimli. He has a 2+ save, which is pretty insane, and then his fate roll is a 5+. Most of the Uruk-hai, if you have, and there's modifiers in this game, and the modifiers are pretty simple. If it's a pike or a flag banner, it has this what we call first strike, which if you're familiar with magic, things that have first strike attack first, and that's basically what goes on there. So if you have pikes, or if you have flag banners, those that have first strike will attack first. Otherwise, if they don't, most of the combat is simultaneous. Aragon, now the reason why the pikes and stuff do have first strike is because, excuse me, Aragon has first strike. And so Aragon can be pretty tough to take down if you don't have a couple of first strikes to throw at him. The Berserkers, horrible save. They have a 6+ save. But they do hit on a 3+, which is nice, because most of your Urkai only hit on a 4+. So they hit on a 3, and then because they have a two-handed weapon, well, it's a -1 on whatever they hit. So, but keep in mind that the worst you can ever get is a 6+, meaning a 6 is always a success regardless of modifiers, and the same if you roll a 1 is always a failure regardless of modifiers. And that's something to kind of keep in mind when we're going through this. But like I said, typically I would try and try and pick up where we're going on at the end of the turn. As you can see, the game kind of progresses very quickly, and the elves are they're getting kind of tore up like usual, like they did in the movie. And the way the ladders work is just like in the movie. When you throw the ladder up, you get to put up an Urkai, and then at the end of the round, if there's no combat taking place near the ladders, the heroes and basically the good side can try and knock the ladders down, but they need a 5+ to do it. Otherwise, if they fail to, then for every ladder that's still up, the Urkai players get to drop another Urkai onto the wall. And so it can be pretty nasty what's going on there. Theoden is kind of right now in the midst of all those Urkai up on the wall you just see right there. Theoden's really cool. He's got 3 Royal Guard with him. Oh yeah, this is right there. That's the wall fixing to be blown up. If the Urkai can make it at the base of the bombs, then they need a 2+ to get it to blow up. Otherwise, if they die in the vicinity of it, then if they roll a 6, well, then they still blow the wall up. But they have to be within 6 inches to do it. Otherwise, and it's continuously happening. There's 2 torchbearers that are just going to keep going every turn, and they'll keep going until the wall blows up. So eventually, the wall will blow up, and that. But yeah, we haven't run this in a while. It had been several years since we actually had brought Helm's Deep out. So when we had brought it out, man, everybody was going around taking pictures of it and stuff. It's really cool. I really do like Helm's Deep. It's a pretty cool, the way that, and the game mechanics are really good too. So yeah, now you see that he blew up the wall, and so we switched out the part of the wall we've already cut away, and so we switch it out for a piece that's blown up, and so now they've blown up the deepening wall. When that happens, typically we'll allow each of the Urkai players to go out of their killed and put together a stand of whatever, if they just want nothing but berserkers, you could do that to some degree. There's only like 5 berserkers, but basically we let them go and build whatever their reinforcement stand's going to be, and each Urkai usually just gets 1 stand. We've actually gone in and added even more Rohan. I think there's like 52 Rohan now or something like that. There's like 50 Rohan. It's insane the amount of Rohan we've kind of packed in there. But what was funny in this game is that like all the walls kind of like fell at the same time. Typically that really long wall is usually the first to go, which is really weird. I'm not talking about the deepening wall. I'm talking about the other side that you don't really get to see a whole lot of, because I was mainly on this side while Coach was on the other side. So I kind of try to get over there a little bit, but I at least wanted to show a little bit of gameplay of what's going on and how, like the rule set. Like I said, we're using Warlord. If anyone's really interested in this, you can always email me, KroppyWargaming@gmail.com. That is in the, I'll have that in the description and stuff. or any kind of questions you ever have. Don't mind answering those. I know I've kind of been on a hiatus on posting things and stuff. I'm gonna try and start posting things again, even if it might just be like little simple stuff. I also ran a couple of Imperial Assault games, and my first one kind of barely made it, but then my second one really did make it. And I don't know, I'll have to rethink how I do some of that. But anyways, yeah, I did do a little bit of recording of my Imperial Assault scenarios, but I might scrap those, and I might just do a walkthrough on how I run. I run Imperial Assault a bit differently. I don't run it the way Fantasy Flight typically has you do it. And that's mainly, to the fact that it's a convention. So if I bring a game, I don't want to overwhelm you with all these different cards and all these rules and stuff. And at the same time, I don't want to lose cards that I need to be able to do that. And so I'm thinking on Imperial Assault, I'll probably just do a couple of walkthroughs of, well, here's how I build my scenario. This is how I do it, in terms of, I treat it more of instead of it being like a straight up skirmish, I treat it more of a RPG, and a lot of people seem to like it. And I'll kind of talk about some of the stats I've kind of come across in developing, whether in terms of working with the Fringe, which is typically I'm kind of borrowing that from Wizards of the Coast from Star Wars Miniatures, because there were 3 factions. There was the Fringe, the Empire, and then there were the Rebels. And so that's what I kind of call it. They're a neutral faction, but think like Jabba the Hutt, Boba Fett, and IG-88 and stuff like that. But anyways, so I'm going to probably do that in terms of my Imperial Assault. I kind of just want to do a walkthrough on it, and that's the best way to do on that side, is I think better, because out of the footage I have, I probably only have for another 3 hour game, if that's somewhere around in there, probably only like maybe 5 to 8 minutes of actual footage. And I was like, you know what, I would rather just sit down and kind of just talk through it and kind of just explain, well, here's what I do, and then this is what kind of transpires and stuff. And maybe what I could do is get a couple of people to play, but I think it would just be better for me to just kind of walk through it and talk about some of the bigger changes I kind of differed from just the traditional Imperial Assault, because I do like Imperial Assault a lot. I don't think it's the best RPG board game. The best one I think that there is Mice and Mystics. I love Mice and Mystics. That one's awesome. But yeah, in terms of Helm's Deep, this was a 3-on-3 basically. It's not our best game. I consider Helm's Deep to be our second best. Our best game that we ever built was Hoth, and it's a 4x8. It's huge. It's even bigger than Helm's Deep. Way bigger. And of course, the biggest I would ever make in length of a game is 6 feet. Don't go over that. That's a little bit of advice, because when you make it 8 feet, I literally don't even I have nowhere to actually put it out. I have to when I play test Hoth, I have to like do it in pieces, because I can't fit the whole. It's crazy how big it is. Anyways, a little bit more about some of the special rules within Warlord that we kind of took from. And the way Warlord works is that one side moves and shoots and then does melee. Then the other side moves and shoots and then does melee. And then that's basically a round. Well, later on, and I guess I would say maybe around the middle of the 2000s, maybe late 2000s, Max Carr actually did like a revision of Warlord called Baron Wars. And I actually like Baron Wars even more, because the rounds are a lot simpler, where it's just both sides move, both sides shoot, and then you do simultaneous melee, and then you're done. And then you do a new round. And I like that a lot easier, because with the original Warlord, it is kind of hard to kind of go, okay, wait a minute, is it their turn now or is it my turn? Yeah, it can get a little bit confusing. But as you can see, the Uruk-hai are getting up on the wall, and they're kind of getting ready to bust down the gates and stuff like that. Which, by the way, those gates have to kind of be defended somewhat. The Rohan players, if they stick a couple of guys behind them, which most usually will, you can actually make it a little bit tougher for the batting ram to get through the doors. And above the doors, you'll see like three other Rohan, and they're like throwing rocks and stuff. So we have like throwing weapons in this game. You have rocks being thrown, anything to kind of slow down the Uruk-hai player. Or the Uruk-hai players, I should say. The old man is still alive. He's in that tower that's closest to the deepening wall. I love it. The old man's awesome. I even point him out to people because people will be like, "So, who do you think's the best character?" And I'll tell them the old man. The old man sucks. Though. He's terrible. He has the worst stats. And sometimes I can only remember really one year that when we ran Helms Deep. And the old man was just whoever had ran him was just making those fives. And I mean, he was taking stuff down. It was hilarious. And I think from that point on, I don't know, the old man's just never really been the same. But he's pretty cool. I like the old man, but I think he's fixing to die at this point. I think this is when he finally meets his maker. I'm gonna miss him. I think he's fixing to be pulled. Yeah, I think this was it. Because the guy I think this is right now. I think this is when the old man dies. I was like, oh no. I bet my reaction to that was basically saying that they lost another hero. And so some of the other players were like, he's a hero? And I'm like, yeah. And then coach is over there going, no, he's not a hero. I was like, oh, come on, man. The old man's great. Who wouldn't want the old man to lead the charge to free the people of Minas Tirith? I would. Anyways, this is about 3 hours, and what will end up happening is the good players will kind of get further and further into Helm's Deep, and we kind of just base it on the idea that, okay, you know, a lot of times gone by, particularly we usually do about 3 hours, and if the good side can hold out for 3 hours, then Gandalf comes and relieves the defenders of Helm's Deep. But there's not many defenders left. Yes, the good side will end up winning this because an elf makes it all the way back away, but at what cost? So we do give. I would say this is a minor victory though for the good side, because none of the heroes lived. Like, all the heroes get killed. It's pretty bad. So you have no heroes. You pretty much, what it might mean is that there's not much of a relief force for Minas Tirith. You don't really have the army of the dead. If we're just talking in movie terms and not really looking at the books, there's not, you've literally lost all your heroes. But yeah, I have to say, the good players overall, I really do think they get this edge because they really did put up a pretty good fight. They did pretty good. And the elves kind of just did their usual. They get slaughtered at the wall. But the elves can do some serious damage. Legolas is really cool. But anyone who's interested in the... anyone who's really interested in the rules or even stats for any of this that we run, let me know. Like I said, KroppyWargaming@gmail.com. If I do some more videos, maybe in the next couple of weeks or so, they'll probably, like I said, be about Imperial Assault. I just wanted to at least get Helm's Deep up there. There is now, if you want to watch like a full thorough Helm's Deep, I'm going to link it. Somebody at another channel has actually recorded our Helm's Deep, and it's on their channel. And so I imagine it's still up. I'm going to go and find it and link you. It's about the full thing's probably like 3.5 hours or 3 hours. It's probably pretty long. So this is a shortened version of it. This is the 20-minute version of Helm's Deep. But hopefully you've kind of liked watching, at least get an idea. If you have any questions on anything, please let me know. But for the most part, this is Helm's Deep, started by a couple of Canadians and finished by Coach and I. And we do have some plans later on to kind of add like some ballistas and stuff. But typically, what I tell people is that Helm's Deep, this project's probably like 90% done. I mean, it's pretty well finished up. There's not a whole lot more I would add. I definitely would like to add some ballistas, but for the most part, this is pretty much Helms deep. And I'm gonna leave y'all with that. I hope everybody has a good Thanksgiving. You know, enjoy the meal, enjoy the family and friends, and I'll see y'all later. Of course, now it's just kind of doing a little bit. See, it's like, man, look.